Rose Bowl was a big, fat blowout. Ohio State 41, Oregon 21. This game, Ohio State started out with a 34-8 halftime lead, and they were up 30 to nothing. At one point, 31 nothing. I mean, everything that went right could have possibly gone right for Ohio State. I know there's a lot of things to cover here in this game, but what are your initial thoughts, Garrison? Just hit me with your stream of consciousness.
Dude, I was I was really surprised. I was with my family watching this game. Matter of fact, while we're here, let me go ahead and let me show you this. Just so I don't know if you saw this, just so everyone else can see. I'll show you what it was like in the Gaddy household. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful scene. This is after the first touchdown, man. This is after the first touchdown. And OH! Dude, it was one of the greatest days of my Buckeye life. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was really surprised with it. What happened, Ryan, was something that we talked about, where if Ohio State were to play their A game, I think we both agree that they would win by like 10 points. But never did I think this would happen.
No.
What were your initial thoughts? Like, just before we get do a deep dive.
We both talked about the fact that we thought these were two evenly matched teams. We thought this game was going to showcase the two best teams in the country. And I did not see them doing basically what they did against Tennessee. I mean, this game wasn't close at any point.
Nope.
They were clicking on all cylinders on offense once again. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's a freak. We'll talk about him. Offensive line played great. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later too. It was just everything that went right could have gone right.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, I know we were both concerned about the coaching aspect. We both were concerned that Dan Lanning might have some things up his sleeve. He might outcoach Ryan Day, and it was the exact opposite. Ryan Day outcoached Dan Lanning. I mean, it was as big of an ass kicking as you possibly could have wanted from this team. It was, in the second half, I mean, you could clearly tell they kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. They weren't being nearly as aggressive. They were trying to run the ball more, take more time off the clock, because they knew they had it in the bag with the way their defense was playing. And even, that first drive coming out of the second half where Oregon scored a touchdown, this still took 6 minutes to do that. Yeah. And turned to my friends, and I was like, look, if they're going to take 6 minutes on each of these drives to score touchdowns, that's fine. We're still going to win the game. So it was domination in a way I'm not quite sure I thought they could dominate against a team as good as Oregon.
Yeah. So you want to start with the offense or the defense first?
You know what? I want to start with the offense, because the offense is what started off with the fireworks. So I specifically want to talk about the offensive MVP, Jeremiah Smith, because the man is amazing as a freshman. I mean, he's 19 years old, and he goes out there and he basically tells Oregon what he's going to do before he does it. I mean, the day before interviews, he's like, hey, they better not cover me one-on-one, because then we're going to take deep shots and I'm going to cook you. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, 7 catches, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. And again, they took their foot off the gas in the second half. Yep. So he could have had more. Like, it could have been worse. Ohio State they clearly made it a point to focus on him early and often in this game, in which they should. He's their best player. And Oregon really had no answers for him. And he's the best player left in the college football playoff, just bar none, on any side of the ball for any team.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith, he's had a great season as a freshman. Broke all Chris Carter's records, for his freshman records. But this was the coming out party game. This was the one. You go out there, you do it in the Rose Bowl. I think he posted the highest PFF grade in playoff history. Like it's, I think for a wide receiver, but just you said it right. He told you what not to do. He told you what not to do. And the funnier part, man, is even when you double teamed him,
Couldn't stop him.
And some games ago, no, I think it was the Tennessee game, and they were talking about this in the broadcast, and they said Ryan Day told Will Howard from the helmet up. That's where you throw it to Jeremiah, from the helmet up. And man, he was outstanding on that second touchdown. Turned the safety around, and truth be told, that safety was scared because they went cover one. He's back there by himself with Jeremiah Smith.
To be honest, it wasn't even that good of a route. He just kind of turned right, and the guy lost his mind.
He was scared.
Yeah,
scared shitless, man. And I don't blame him. And you could tell because Jeremiah pointed right at him after the touchdown. Just pointed at him.
Yeah,
it was a spectacular game by him.
He was great. Will Howard was great also. I mean, and Ohio State, it wasn't just that they were scoring touchdowns. It was they were scoring them in big chunks of yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were scoring quickly. They had 2-play drives, 3-play drives. Like they were getting out in a hurry into the end zone. And so Oregon, all of a sudden, you blink once and all of a sudden, it's 21-0, 28-0. Like they had no answers for what Ohio State wanted to do offensively. And for Will Howard to play 2 of his 3 best games against Oregon, the first matchup, he played really well. He had 326 passing yards against Oregon, and then to back it up against the same defense and go 17 of 26. He had only 17 completions, but they were for 319 yards. I mean, that tells you just the chunks of yards they were getting. There's 3 touchdowns, and the ball to Emeka was beautiful. I mean, that touchdown pass could not have been thrown any better. Just dropped it right over the defender's shoulder, head, and just right into the breadbasket. He was phenomenal.
I couldn't believe that touchdown pass. I couldn't believe it.
I thought
it would be a pick.
And look, I'm if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure I knew that Howard had this in him. I didn't know that he could reach this level of play this consistently because he did this against Tennessee too. Like we can firmly say this is not a fluke situation. He's balling right now. And if he's going to throw for over 300 yards every game, I don't see how Ohio State doesn't end up holding the trophy on January 20th. He was that good. And what were your thoughts about Howard? Because I've run out of superlatives for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a nail on this right now. I was asked all week and by a bunch of Oregon people in Spaces if Dylan Gabriel or Will Howard was better. I'll give him a bone. I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I guess DG's a little bit better. No, Will Howard is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. He was the best quarterback in the Big Ten all season. I don't care about his 9 interceptions. Don't care about him.
Yeah,
Will Howard, man, he's. And that Cal McCoy conversation, we finished it a long time ago. Me and you did.
You and I have been on the same page all year. Yeah,
it's Will Howard. Like the leader he's been for this team is one thing. Like he's been an awesome leader. He's always taking it upon himself. Doesn't credit himself for anything. Always gives everyone else the credit. Takes all the blame. But man, his play this season has just been outstanding.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. He's had one bad game all season. He's had one bad
Michigan game.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's his coaches put him in that bad situation.
Yes. And for him to come out and go back-to-back games like this, and what's really cool about it is that from the get-go, the coaches are telling him, "Hey, you're gonna come out here and throw this ball." And I think that the coaches having that much confidence in him and his teammates having that much confidence in him is why he's playing this good. Outside of him just having it looks like Will Howard always had the talent. Sorry, Kansas State. Looks like he always had it in him.
Yeah. It's funny. Kansas State fans were saying, he was going to be the starter anyway. Every John's like, okay, have fun.
That conversation's over with too.
Have fun. Yeah. And, the running game was also really solid. And they leaned into more of that in the second half once the game was out of hand. But, I mean, Travion, again, 66-yard burst for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 8 carries for 90, but he got 94 yards on him. And those last 2 carries at the end of the game were for 5 yards, and he lost like 6. So, he had those 2 touchdowns. Quinshawn, 17 carries, 85 yards, about as balanced as it gets. They in total ran for 181 yards. It's 5.8 yards a carry. If you do that against any team, you're going to win a lot of games. And you have to credit the offensive line, and I'm going to give credit to our favorite assistant.
Oh,
he deserves it. Justin Fry. Justin Fry, I'm giving you your flowers. I have been a staunch critic of you. I have not liked how you've been able to develop these offensive linemen or recruit on the recruiting trail. But damn it, you deserve some credit for what you've done with this offensive line, with the injuries that they've suffered, how they've come together over specifically these last 2 playoff games. I was completely blown away with how well they played. Not just opening up run holes, but also protecting Will Howard. It was strange because, on that final drive might have been the second final drive, I don't remember. Will Howard definitely got sacked. Like Luke Montgomery got beaten, he got sacked, but they didn't credit it as a sack. They credited it as a negative Will Howard rush because I guess he was moving forward at the time.
Yeah.
So officially, Ohio State did not give up any sacks in that game.
2 straight games in a row.
Yeah, 2 straight games in a row. So I'm giving all my flowers to Fry, the whole offensive line. You and I were both concerned whether or not they could do that for a second game in a row. And
I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
And just to backtrack real quick, talking about those about like Jeremiah and the receivers, like Mecca had a good game. And I also want to credit Cardinal Tate real quick. Cardinal Tate has had 1 catch in these playoff games each.
Yep.
The unselfishness of him is to be commended. It really is. But
before we move on from Tate, we'll talk about a preview of Texas later, but I think he's going to be used a lot more against Texas. I think they're going to use him.
I think people are sleeping on him, man. I think that people are like no one can stop our wide receivers right now with Mecca and Jeremiah, but it would behoove of these teams to not think that Cardinal Tate won't go out there and just get 100 on you real quick. He can easily do that. But Travion, that run was just I think that run was probably the most important touchdown of that game because it put a nail in the coffin, but it was just everything you need to see in that moment with Ohio State in this game. Judkins, I was very happy that he had a good game. Very happy he had a good game. He had some tough runs in that game. And I think by that time,
it was strange that he got a lot more carries. Like he got 9 more carries than Henderson did, and Henderson was clearly the more effective back. I
think that this season, I think you probably agree with this. I think this season the reason Judkins has gotten more carries is because he's built a little. I think he's built a little tougher, a little stronger. He's had seasons where he's gone through had a bunch of carries, but also in these games, I think they knew when you get late in this season for the playoffs, we were going to need Travion for situations like this and in the Tennessee game. And I think the fruits of their
fair point.
Yeah, like the fruits of that. He's
built more to take more hits. You're right.
Yeah. And now when it comes to the playoffs and guys are never, I don't think anyone's as healthy as Ohio State right now. Of course, we're missing our 2 linemen, but I think we're very healthy right now.
Yeah.
Now the offensive line. What else can you say? It's and even with that Michigan loss, let's think about this. You look at Michigan's defensive line, Tennessee's defensive line, and Oregon's defensive line. You give up 1 sack between those 3 defensive lines. You give up 1 sack. It's good job by Justin Fry. No, that's not good. Great job by Justin Fry. Sir, you saved your job. Now get some better. Now do better recruiting.
Now get some good recruits, please.
Yeah, and then good job on Chip Kelly for scheming around the offensive line.
I just want to shout out Donovan Jackson, moving from guard to tackle and not missing a beat.
He's made a lot of money. He has made a lot of money this season.
Yeah.
Because going from guard to tackle is not easy because playing guard in the NFL is it's a dime a dozen thing. You can find a guard easy in the NFL. Playing tackles was hard. And for him to go against the defensive ends that he's had to go up against this season, just like spectacular. Luke Montgomery, yeah, like he had that one play with him, he basically gave up a sack or whatever, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But another game where he playing good, broken nose, busted lip, don't matter, dub.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's an Ohio kid who next year he's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be, I think, one of the better guards in the nation next year. The rest of the offensive line, someone I've been very critical with Fryer. Dude.
He's been okay this season. Yeah.
Good job. That offensive line, man, I'm very proud of them. The tight ends are blocking their ass off too.
And let me shout out that very first play. G. Scott. Great scheme, great play call to come out with the Rose Bowl and just throw it to G. Scott when he just leaks out and no one's there. I thought that was a great way to start the game, and not a way anyone else would have thought how they started. You know, you're thinking, okay, then throw it to Jeremiah, first player, they're going to hand it off. Nope, leak out G. Scott for 30 yards. So I love that.
Yeah, the offensive play calling right now is, you would think after 12 games they would have nothing left in the bag.
Chip was fantastic in this game, and we talked about it coming into the playoffs, and not just this game, but against Tennessee. We both thought they were going to be more aggressive in the play calling because there's nothing left to lose at this point. You're going to go out, and if you go down because you were too aggressive, so be it. You want to go out trying to get the ball to your best players, and if your best isn't good enough, you can live with that. But you don't want to lose a game without trying to get the ball to your best players often enough. And that's what they did against Michigan. Chip Kelly's owned that. He's worn it, and now he's learned from it. And the games he's called in each of the last two contests, I mean, it's been great because, I mean, they've scored 42 and 41 points. There's clearly not been a defense that can stop them. And
we could have dropped 60 on Oregon. We really could have.
Oh, yeah.
60 on the
For sure. And, I don't know if there's much left to say here about the offense. If you've got anything else, I'd love to move to the defense.
No, I was going to say something about Ryan Day, but I'll wait till we're done with the defense.
Okay. Well,